How you doing? Yeah, new background, right? Yeah, don't worry about that. I'm just hanging out in what many people seem to think America will look like in just a few years. You know why? Just a little thing called the global reserve currency, aka the money that countries use to trade amongst each other. Right now, it's the US dollar, but if that were to change to, let's say, the Chinese yuan, no big deal, right? Wrong. This would have ripple effects across our entire global economy and affect so many things. And so people are really freaking out about this. Exhibit A.
If you're an American and you're not paying attention right now, you're going to lose all your money. And this isn't some clickbait video, it's legitimately the most important thing that I think anyone should be paying attention to. So this video clip I'm going to show you next is a little bit longer, but stick with me if you don't want to end up on the streets.
Now that's just one TikToker, but this is one of the most prominent debates in the geopolitical world. Will the global reserve currency change? Is the United States then on its way out and China about to take over? Do these TikTokers screaming of a doomsday have a point? Let's find out. Look, this whole currency change, never gonna happen. Bro, what are you doing? I'm like literally playing my intro as we speak.
I'm literally playing my intro right now.
What are you trying to do? You just gonna steal the video from me right now?
Yep.
That's exactly what I'm gonna do. Me and that loser over there. Alright, so let's talk about the lead that the dollar has, because the reserve currency has to be stable. How do you make sure that something is stable? Well, if it's widely accepted around the world, and both parties in a transaction can be happy in dealing with that currency. For that, the US dollar is miles ahead. Look at this pie chart. You know what that is? That's the breakdown of money held by foreign exchange reserves. So just think of it like this. Imagine we all get together, we decide to make our own nation, and we'd like our nation to last a little while. Of course, we'll have our own currency, but if shit hits the fan and our market tanks, we'll keep someone else's currency locked away so we can still trade with other countries, try to get things back in line. So if you have that many people holding the US dollar as the reserve currency, there's just no easy way any other currency is gonna overtake it. What are you talking about? The Chinese yuan can easily close that gap, especially the way things move nowadays. Not too long ago, you saw a made with China sticker. You knew that thing was lasting 2, maybe 3 months. But now look around us. China has established itself as the manufacturing hub of the world. And you've got Amazon over here single-handedly decimating businesses left and right by proudly, more or less, becoming the storefront of China. And their economy has soared from this, placing it on track to surpass the economy of the United States, a feat that people 15 years ago were probably arguing could never happen. So what makes you think that it's not possible for their currency to make the same transformation? Well, because you're still missing the point. Sure, the currency and economy could make a major shift and maybe a few more countries could begin to use the yuan to trade, but that's only a small part of the equation. To be accepted on a global scale, China will have to make so many other changes that it just don't see being possible. Look, the US dollar isn't strong only because of the size of the US economy. It's strong because it's predictable. The dollar is a safe haven when there's economic instability like we talked about with our own custom country. Investors flood towards the dollar because they trust in the stability of the US economy. We can trust that when that shit hits the fan for our country, we still have the US dollar in our reserves, and there's no way that that is going to go through any major shifts and changes and we're going to be bankrupted. And that trust in the US economy has been established over many, many years for a number of reasons. But for one big one being, the US has a Federal Reserve, an organization that makes decisions independently of the US government. Don't even get me started on the transparency of China's financial system. Just like an episode of Scooby-Doo, you pull off the mask of People's Bank of China, and you'll find the Chinese government making all the moves, and there's no transparency on those moves being made and why they're making them. Transparency, schmansparency. If China keeps growing the way that it has, it won't matter. It will take over the China way by force. The world's largest exporter, the second largest importer, and their infrastructure. Have you heard of a little something called the Belt and Road Initiative? Likely the most ambitious infrastructure project in the history, connecting Asia, Europe, and Africa. If those countries are easily connected to China and it makes sense to increase their trade relations with them, they will. Look at the world around you, buddy. People always follow the money. If your country is struggling and a deal with China falls into your lap that is guaranteed to stimulate your economy and help your people, you're telling me you're not going to take it? Now have the situation happen enough times, suddenly it makes a lot of sense to hold the yuan as your reserve currency. Yeah, I could see a few more countries trading in the yuan, increasing the reserves of it, but for it to become the main global reserve, do you know how hard that road is to climb? The dollar is so deeply entrenched into our global system. We've got oil trades still done in USD. We've got international debts that will last for decades. If countries even wanted to make the switch, it's a hard task to do so, and it's kind of risky with the high costs associated with switching. And on top of it all, China itself isn't even ready to do the steps required to make the yuan a global reserve currency. They still massively restrict the amount of money that can flow in and out of the country, meaning the yuan is unreceptive to a free market flow, which is something that is crucial to becoming the global reserve currency. And good luck trying to convince an authoritative regime that the way that they handle money needs to change. I don't know if you've noticed, but they don't particularly enjoy being told what to do. And I don't know about you, but I'm not interested in participating in a disappearing act anytime soon. Now, if I could just step in here real quick, gentlemen, before one of you makes the other disappear, I think it's important to answer the question of the video. If this transition is going to happen, it will happen in many, many years. The TikTokers and creators crying wolf are doing so just for the clicks and the views. They'll tell you that their video isn't fear-mongering, but that doesn't mean they're telling the truth. So please don't go storing your cash under a mattress or converting all your USD to yuan. Yuan definitely is on its way to becoming a more widely used currency, especially as China continues to become a financial powerhouse. But for it to become a safe haven currency, China would have to implement significant institutional reforms, which could happen, but if it does, it will be in the far, far future. What is interesting is that countries are beginning to use it as a political statement. For example, a number of countries were not happy about how the US handled the Ukraine situation, so they agreed with China to start using more of the yuan. Will political statements be enough to make a difference in the state of the reserve currency? No. But it's fascinating nonetheless to see how the geopolitical landscape is panning out. So yes, I believe only time will tell whether the yuan will become the global reserve currency, whether or not China will take over and become the dominant global power as well. Well, I think both of those things happen in a long time, if they are going to happen. So it's hard to debate them at this point when there's so many things up in the air on whether or not, well, this could happen or that could happen. I know that's a boring answer. You probably want, yes, China is marching into Taiwan, and then it's the US after, and then they're gonna take over. You know, we all want our extremist views, but unfortunately, it's a little more boring than that in reality.